Accusations of a love triangle, deadly revenge, and a teenage boy shot and killed inside his own home. Prosecutors worked for months on the Alex Torres murder case.
But here's a question. Why wasn't it enough to convict Alex's alleged killer? Tonight, in our third report in a series about the Alex Torres murder case, investigative reporter Jessica Savage walks us through the trials that left jurors unable to agree, and finally shares an exclusive interview with the Nueces County District Attorney's Office about the case.
In September of last year, jury selection began for Alex's suspected killer, David Davila. It was the moment prosecutors and the defense had been waiting for.
There's a little boy, he's out. He's my neighbor's grandchild, and he just dropped dead.
There was a lot at stake. David could spend life in prison if convicted. And this was the defense team's chance to finally explain why jurors could not possibly convict him.
Men and women on the jury, when somebody's life is at stake, you tell everything. You don't creatively edit.
And on the prosecution side, Nueces County District Attorney Mark Gonzalez would lay out the evidence for jurors. Over the next 5 days, jurors heard testimony from neighbors, police, medics, and the two witnesses who saw someone leave the apartments that night after they heard a gunshot.
So when they went boom, when I heard it, I was using the restroom.
Did it sound close?
Yes.
I thought it was a firework, but then once I realized, my husband's all like, no, honey, that's a gunshot.
In court, those witnesses now said it was David they saw there that night and pointed him out in court. Defense attorneys were quick to point out that that testimony conflicted with what witnesses told detectives on the night of the murder. And the jury also heard from Alex's grandmother, Yolanda Quiros, about those haunting moments she found her Alex unresponsive on the kitchen floor. The next day, Vicky Stickle testified about what she told police about her daughter Christina Trevino's involvement in the murder and why she believed Christina's boyfriend, David, was responsible.
What you told them that day, is it truthful?
What I told them that day, is it truthful? Yes. I told them what I was told.
David's defense attorney, Lisa Greenberg, pointed out that the original information Vicky had never mentioned her client by name. In Vicky's opinion that David was the shooter was just that, an opinion.
From your knowledge, no one said David?
No one said David.
Others had named David, and the jury got to hear from them.
Could you please state your name for the record?
Christina Trevino.
Christina testified as part of her plea deal, and so did Erasmo and Santina as a part of their immunity deals with the DA.
I know who did it.
And how do you know who did it?
Because they personally went to my house and asked for the gun and left right in front of me and came right back.
As former prosecutor Ray Pena pointed out, those immunity deals signed the day of the arrest proved to be fodder for the defense.
Your credibility is now tied to theirs because you've made a deal with them. It just really muddied everything up. Something that was so simple got very convoluted, and that's great for the defense. That's called reasonable doubt sometimes.
And it cast a shadow over the entire case, as one juror explained. When it came time to deliberate, jurors were handed a packet of rules. It's called the charge, and it's what jurors had to use in order to make a decision. And as one juror told me, it was when they got a copy of the charge that things got so much more complicated. Jurors filed into a room where they hashed out a decision. As one juror I spoke to said, it was in that moment that she and several others, as they understood it, could not consider testimony from Christina, Santina, or Erasmo. And without that, they felt they didn't have enough evidence to acquit or convict David. After more than a day of deliberations, the jury was deadlocked. They sent a note to the judge. At that point, the only thing the jury could agree on was this: they would never agree. The final jury split was 4 guilty and 8 not guilty. And without a unanimous decision, the judge declared a mistrial. At that point, prosecutors had a decision to make. Do they try the case again? Yes, in fact, there would be 2 more trials. During an exclusive interview about this case, First Assistant District Attorney Matt Manning explained why the DA's office decided to try the case again.
This is actually extraordinary in that generally you don't see a case tried this many times. The reason we tried it again is because we felt that, maybe with subsequent presentations of the case, there might be a different outcome.
But there wasn't. During the second trial in January, jurors never had a chance to discuss the case because a witness talked about criminal history, something that the attorneys agreed wasn't allowed to be talked about in front of the jury. So the judge declared a mistrial. The third trial ended this past May in another mistrial because jurors just couldn't agree. In that case, the jury split was 10 guilty and 2 not guilty.
It was definitely not for want of trying. It was not for lack of acumen. It was not for lack of experience. It was not for lack of effort. It was not for lack of strategy.
Manning prosecuted the last 2 trials. He agreed to an interview to answer questions about what happened. But before we started, he made it clear that for ethical reasons, he could not speak to specifics in the case, including evidence, witnesses, or even offer an opinion about whether he felt Davila was guilty or innocent. Within the first few minutes of the interview, Manning shared his frustrations with the community reaction to the mistrials.
It's taxing when I know that citizens, unfortunately, don't have every aspect of the case, can't see every nuance of the case, and they feel cheated or they feel let down by the office. I'm sympathetic to that, and it really hurts me that citizens have that feeling, because I wish that people could see how hard we do work in our office.
People that feel like, you know, this office is to blame for what happened. Do you accept responsibility for that? Who is to blame?
No, I take responsibility. I mean, I take responsibility insofar as I presented the case. I'm the face of the case, at least for the last 2 iterations, and I will be the one that goes on record saying that I, did not get a conviction in the case. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over that, just to the extent that I know how much effort I put forth. I know how much effort I put into really thinking about every single element of the case.
And then he explained why he dismissed the case.
And I am a true believer in the Constitution and a true believer in the law. And where a person has not been convicted, there's not jury unanimity. I think that my sworn duty requires me to seek the just outcome. And the just outcome in response to 3 trials where a person was not found guilty by a jury unanimously is a dismissal of the case. And I understand that that's difficult. I don't mean to issue that as an important thing. And I apologize to the community for the difficulty that they may have in that reality. But I sought to be just, as I do in any other case, and that's why the outcome is what it is.
You know, a lot of people believe he did it, right? They feel like a killer is out there. Now he got away with murder, essentially. What do you say to that?
That my job is to prove cases, and where a jury has not found unanimously that a case has been proven to them, then, that's what has occurred. We submitted it to the jury 3 times, and it's difficult. I mean, I won't say to anybody that I don't understand how you can be frustrated by the outcome. But the reality of it is, especially somebody like yourself that's covered courts for a long time, the reality is mistrials and jury inability to find a unanimous verdict does unfortunately happen in the system.
And you can find the full interview with First Assistant District Attorney Matt Manning on our website at christv.com. Just look for this story. Now, coming up tomorrow night, we are going to hear from Alex's family in an exclusive interview. Who do they blame for the outcome of this case, and what is their life like now? Also, we hear more about why this case is not over. We'll be right back.